I was once told that the definition of adventure is to travel with a degree of uncertainty, and today will certainly be an adventure for me. Having recently been actively encouraged to buy my first bike in years, I am about to test it and myself by biking Route 31 from Beccles to Southwold. Beccles is nestled on the banks of the River Waveney and is surrounded by fantastic views of the Southern Broads, as well as beautiful rolling countryside, and can trace its history back to medieval times. Beccles then owed its prosperity to the herring industry, as instead of this sleepy present-day backwater, Beccles once sat on the edge of a bustling estuary. The town centre provides a blend of independent shops and restaurants and is well worth a visit. Beccles was also home to the mother of Lord Horatio Nelson, and his parents were married here in St Michael's Church. I decided to delay the start of my journey to take a look inside and met local resident Michael Kelly, a fountain of knowledge on the subject of the church and its history.
1856 they had to redo the windows, and there's medieval paintings behind the plaster.
We went on to discuss the Great Fire of Beccles in November 1586, which raged out of control due to the fact that the river was frozen over. The roof, seats and woodwork of the church were all destroyed, and the evidence of heat damage to the stonework is still evident in certain areas. One of the other historical landmarks of Beccles is the bell tower, which stands at 97 feet and unusually is detached from the main body of the church. Leaving the town centre, I head to the river and the Waveney House Hotel, originally built in the early 16th century for the first Lord Mayor of Beccles. As I sit by the tranquil river enjoying my coffee, it's hard to imagine how busy this area once was. Finally, I had to admit that it was time to leave Beccles and set out towards Sotterley and my ultimate destination, Southwold. Reassuringly, the blue signs denoting Route 31 were clear, frequent and easy to follow. After conquering my first steep hill, I stopped to catch my breath and briefly enjoy the beautiful rural views before once again hitting the open road. On the crossroads at Sotterley, where the roads to Hulver, Shaddingfield, Stoven and Wrentham all meet, is an unusual octagonal chapel built in the Gothic style. It is built of local red brickwork with stone buttresses and a tiled roof, and is surrounded by a small cemetery, which is also a haven for wildlife and wildflowers. This truly is a peaceful and timeless corner of Suffolk. Scattered along my route were many roadside stalls selling all manner of local produce, from jams and pickles to cut flowers and vegetables. I made a mental note to bring a backpack with me next time. Did this mean there would be a next time? I must admit that I found my earlier doubts and concerns evaporating, and I was thoroughly enjoying my odyssey into the Suffolk countryside. The roads were quiet and meandering, enabling me to soak up the peaceful atmosphere whilst absorbing my surroundings, and there was constantly something new to catch my interest. Suddenly, I was jerked out of my reverie by the noise of the A12 which traversed my path. Once this obstacle was safely crossed, it was back to peace, quiet and the long winding road, passing the occasional farm and duck pond. Travelling by bike, I soon realised, was a perfect way to enjoy the countryside, as I was able to cover a larger distance than if I were walking, but at a speed that allowed me to fully appreciate the beauty and diversity of my surroundings. Far sooner than I had imagined, I arrived at Buss Creek, which separates the parishes of Raden and Southwold. The creek flows from the River Blythe and encircles the town. With its picturesque greens and houses and much sought-after beach huts, Southwold is today a chic tourist resort with a reputation for expensive designer boutiques and jewellery made from local amber. I decided to begin my visit to Southwold at a quintessentially English landmark, the pier. The pier was built in 1900 and has seen many facelifts since the days when the paddle steamers would moor here following an 11-hour journey from London. Leaving the pier behind, I head towards the town centre and past perhaps the single most memorable structure in the town, the 31-metre-tall lighthouse. From there, I pass Adnam's Soul Bay Brewery, which is remarkable in that beer has been brewed on this site for over 670 years. Adnams are now not only famous for their beers, but also their wines and spirits, especially their world-famous Copperhouse gin. I soon find myself on the main street, and passing the weekly market, I head for Gun Hill. In 1672, the residents of Southwold witnessed a violent sea battle between the Dutch and the English, which became known as the Battle of Soul Bay. They helped tend to the injuries of some 800 sailors and were offered a shilling for each dead sailor washed up on the shore, which they recovered and buried. Finally, I push my bike to the harbour's pierhead for a last look out to sea before heading to the harbour, which is still a bustling area despite the fact that few fishermen now operate from here. My final destination is the ever-popular Harbour Inn for a well-earned glass of Adnams wine and maybe even a delicious plate of fish and chips. I have thoroughly enjoyed my day, and I'm sure that my first biking adventure will not be my last.